Welcome to RICO 12. My name is Justin, and I am a child of an all-powerful and all-loving God and a recovering addict, and am blessed to be the host of this meeting and podcast. RICO 12 is an organization with the mission of learning and sharing the similarities of addictions of all kinds, and gaining and sharing tools and hope from others who are walking this path. We come together from all places, faiths, and backgrounds to gain tools and hope from others who are walking this path. Speakers from our past meetings have represented so many fellowships, addictions, and afflictions, and we look forward to continuing to add to the diversity of speakers and backgrounds. Today, we're recording on a Wednesday morning instead of our regular time on Fridays, as I'll be on a plane at our normal recording time, and I'm grateful to our guest today to be able to make this work and also to be able to make things work for her, as our normal recording times don't work for her. So grateful for Karen for that. Today's speaker for the 166th meeting is Karen A., who will be speaking on the Big Book and people and relationship addictions. Karen is another first-time RICO 12 speaker, and I'm super excited to hear from her. We'll get to her talk in the Q&A afterwards in just a minute. First, for a little bit of business. The RICO 12 family of recovery resources continues to grow and have more and more resources for the addict and the loved ones of those addicted. We also have a service, a podcast called RICO 12 Shares, working with the recovery guy, Robert P., in the first 164 meeting, which meets on Zoom every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and a couple of other really exciting projects that are quickly approaching in July. Your donations and subscriptions are making this all possible, and there are costs to build and maintain all of them. On that note, RICO 12 is a self-supporting service, and we appreciate your help in keeping us working our step 12 in this manner. We gratefully accept one-time contributions through PayPal and Venmo through the links in the chat and the show notes. I'll put those in there. We also offer a monthly subscription program called RICO 12 Spearheads. To join in and help support these cool projects, please consider donating at www.rico12.com/support. That's RECO12.com. Or click on the links in the chat and in the show notes. We look forward each meeting to receiving from the light reflected from our speakers. That light inspires hope, meaning, worth, and growth in us, the listening audience. Now, let's introduce our guest speaker for today, Karen A. Karen is from Jerusalem, Israel, and she's a proud mommy and member of her Spiritual Gangsters fellowship. Karen had addiction running through her family and lost her baby brother to an accidental morphine overdose when he was just 3 days out of rehab. In 2014, Karen entered the rooms of OA when her doctor said she had the 4 Fs: female, fertile, fat, and 40. She knew that a spiritual approach was the only solution to her food problem and all of life's other challenges, such as codependency, anonism, and love addiction. Today, Karen guides sponsees through the Big Book for any affliction, especially people addictions, CoDA, Al-Anon, sex and love addiction, etc. She specializes in carrying the message of Alcoholics Anonymous to Orthodox Jewish women worldwide who otherwise would not have access to recovery. Take it away, Karen. The floor is yours. You're on mute, Karen. Go ahead and unmute, and let's do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. It's an honor to be here. Thank you, RICO 12 and all other recovery communities who are here today. Thank you to God, my higher power, for putting me here. And isn't that just divinely orchestrated that I reached out to you, Justin, and said, hey, I keep the Holy Sabbath. Are you free during the week? And it just so happened to be that the very week afterwards, Justin was traveling on Friday. Just got to carry that into all our affairs. Believe that higher power is looking out for our needs. He cares about our every single convenience and detail all the time. Your will, not mine, be done. Okay. So like I said, my name is Karen A. I'm here in Jerusalem. I do specialize in Orthodox women. I love all y'all. Anyone's free to contact me. I do work with women, but I'm in touch with fellows, all shapes, sizes, colors, etc. So please don't take any offense to that. It's just an honor to carry a message in a place where it might not otherwise reach. A more insular community that I speak their language, so I can take Big Book and translate it there, which is truly an honor. Okay, so my name is Karen A. again. Hi, everybody. I identify as a compulsive overeater. I identify as a codependent. when I ended up in these rooms, meaning the spiritual gangster rooms, after several years in OA, putting down white flour and white sugar and being really into practicing gratitude and a bunch of spiritual principles beyond my said and obvious religiosity, I kept hitting up against my people issues. Infatuation that led to a well marriage and an extremely painful divorce. After that, I said, oh, okay, well, maybe I don't have the relationship thing down. I'll get a great job. So I worked for a really powerful person here at the intersection of Israeli politics and society and you name it, and wow. And wouldn't you know it, and Justin did tell me, we're not focusing on our problems here. I'm not here to dazzle you with my issues. I know there are a lot of people who can outdo me and outdance me here. But I went from a miserable divorce, being knocked upside my head, and into working for a really challenging boss and a really, abusive work situation. And, the more humble recovery in me said, these two situations have one thing in common, and it's not them. And after 2 years of a lot of, therapy and EMDR and a whole bunch of other modalities, and seeing that I was still crushed and crumbled and had lost my fight, which was tough for me because I'm a tough gal. I've been through a lot. I'm an idealist. I'm spiritual. I need to go back to the 12 steps. That's what I said to myself. I said, I need to go there. I did it for food. Obviously, it's the same prayers for resentments, the same turnarounds for fears. But I said, I got to look at the people side of things. So I asked for a CoDA sponsor, and I got, some British woman with colorful hair. Couldn't be any more different than me. And the cool thing is we're not even friends. I'm really proud to say that, because my sponsor and my sponsor's sponsor say that when you really like your sponsor, you might want to run for the hills. They just need to be your guide to take you through the 12 steps. They just need to be your broker to God. They don't have to be your BFF. They don't have to lick your wounds. And that's cool. A lot of my sponsees are my BFFs, and a lot of my sponsors or co-fellows are really tight, but they don't need to be. So if you don't love your sponsor, you don't even like them, it's okay. Just make sure they're doing a good job getting you through the work. I thought she was my CoDA sponsor. She ended up being active in SLAW. And that's when I said, that's weird. Like I'm a kosher, good Jewish girl from the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles. I'm a card-carrying Jap. I can't be one of those. Excuse me, my kids are walking in. Pardon me one sec. But I identified with a lot of what she was saying, looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for love everywhere. Wanting validation all over the place, from my ex, from my boss, from mommy, from daddy, wanting everyone to be mommy and daddy. Anyway, I don't want to go into all of that. But I then identified it as a SLAW. Certainly for my resume, I qualify as an Al-Anon, an ACA, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes, when I'm really jealous of normal people, the normies, as we call them, really upset that I'm not one of them, frustrated. The other people can just go to bed at 3 a.m. and be tired the next day, but I can't do that in this spiritual life. Or that other people could gossip or yell and it won't affect them. Sometimes I thought to myself, why am I this way, And everyone would have a different take on that. The therapist would say, well, depending on what kind of therapy, mommy, daddy. The anthropologist might say society, little rich girl was given, material stuff instead of love and meaning. Science might say it's genetics. I'm armed with a big book that I really love that says the reason I'm this way is because I suffered from addiction. What does that mean? That somewhere in my heart, in my soul, there's a big hole that's yearning for something bigger, yearning for meaning. And man, I know some of you relate. Sometimes I'm so upset that I'm that way. Like, I wish I could just be more shallow or regular, but that's how God made me. And that's what the doctor's opinion says. That something about the way I was manufactured, something about my making makes it so that I have an allergy that makes me reach for stuff, mistakenly reach for stuff to placate me, to calm me down, to make me feel better, to build up my self-esteem. Except that it doesn't work. Today I'm 48. I came into these rooms at 40. Complex compounded interest. Anyone heard of that? That's kind of how trauma works. The big book says this is a progressive disease. We get worse, never better. All we have is a daily reprieve, contingent on the maintenance of a spiritual lifestyle. That means any second I'm not turning to my higher power, to God, of service. Any moment that, God forbid, I'm angry or in self-pity, this thing gets worse with interest and rebates and all that and penalties. So that's the bad news, right? The bad news is, slugging it out, trudging the road of happy destiny, as we say, over 9 years. Some stuff got worse. But the one thing that is getting deeper and better, and that doesn't mean I'm necessarily happier or chippier or more excited. The one thing that is better is my solution. Today, I have a solution, and that solution is really just one thing. For those of you who don't like the GOD thing, that solution is higher power. You want to call it love. You want to call it humility, equanimity, beauty. Go for it. As a religious person, a believing religious person, I sometimes struggle with my own issues of a punitive paternal figure who's, and I'm a bad girl. Anyway. Today, I have to keep dialing back into the reality that I am a perfect creation, that even if it's all broken loose, everything's a mess. I have thankfully a bunch of kids at home. I'm a single parent. I was widowed from my first husband. The marriage I was talking about was my second husband. Again, not to dazzle you with my life story and my track record of drama and trauma. So this one could be having a tantrum, and the teenagers could be really hurtful. And today I have a solution and a higher power that I turn to for all of that. All of that. I look at my notes here. Why do I need that solution for all of that? My boss making a face at me, my kid asking me for money again, my other kid telling me that I'm a bad mom, whatever the case may be. The big book says that the addict is driven by 100 forms of fear and self-delusion. That means I got a whole ensemble going on in my head, and it ain't the New York Philharmonic, not the Jerusalem Philharmonic either. I got a whole cacophony of pretty evil voices in my head. A new sponsor that I picked up, who's working with me on the 4-step, drew my attention to something called the theater of the lie. In short, I have a lie going on in my head, all these different voices, all these different representatives, if you will, of all my different issues, right? So let's take that example. My 9-year-old isn't listening to me. So my inner child in my committee is saying, no one ever listens to me. I don't matter. I'm invisible. No one cares about me, What is it? Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I think I'll eat some worms. The parent in me said, she should really be listening. Why isn't she listening? The low self-esteem ridden addict is saying, I'm just not one of those normies. I don't know how to get people to do things that I want them to do. And the victim and the martyr is, of course, saying that, I'm miserable and I'm a failure and I'll never get it right. And I could be in these rooms for 20 billion years, I can, drink the longevity drink and it'll never work out. So I don't think it's a promise in the big book, but you could see that any addict, if you're like me, that has that whole cacophony of voices in their head, making them crazy, the fact that, I haven't jumped, I'm not on heavy medication. You should take it if your doctor said you should. I'm not against that. That I'm here, the nice buttoned up shirt, iron, have my hair done and presenting on a Rico 12, that in and of itself is a miracle. We straighten out spiritually, we straighten out physically and mentally, because there's a lot of people who would have gone through what I've gone through. A lot of people have all that junk in their head, they're not on this Zoom. They're in a locked ward. So first of all, thank God for that. Thank God that I'm here with you all, family, that I could be of service. And it could always be worse, and it's not. Thank God. So with that whole bunch of noise in my head, I need quiet. And today, again, at 48, that kind of recovery looks real different than it did even at 40 when I was younger. And I'm young at heart and vital and all that, but it was more like I'm off flour, I'm off sugar, I'm doing service, I'm taking people through the steps. It was more like a high. Today, it's like an older, gentler recovery. And I want to, challenge you all. We said the set aside prayer earlier, to set aside everything you know about your recovery, because recovery comes in waves and layers, and every time it looks different. Now my recovery is a lot more chill. Recovery on steroids, if that's like a bit of an oxymoron. It's not that. Today it's a chill kind of recovery, but I need a lot of it. See, the other day I had a real CoDA moment. I was taking this big exam, a medical exam, and I had to go to the Ministry of Health here in Israel, and I had to drive an hour away, and I was already really nervous because as an addict, driven by 100 forms of fear and self-delusion, I feel everything. So, like my nerve endings are open to every wind, north, south, east, and west, every facial expression that someone makes. We addicts are sensitive people. My feeling gets hurt. Sometimes it's a real nightmare. But it's like I saw, my friend who we had kind of had a little separation, and then I cleaned that up and made an amend with that relationship, living amends with that relationship. And I was going to drive her. I said, I don't usually pass your way. And she said to me, well, that's fine. We'll just go separately and meet there. So my inner codependence started flipping out like, here it is, the rejection, the abandonment. Now, all she said was, it's okay. We could take 2 different cars. I could take the bus. Like, no, this wasn't death. This wasn't divorce. No one was fired. But inside, as an addict, what started happening to me was volcanic. It was explosive. And I'm purposely giving you a really dumb example because that's where I have to use my program. And that's where I have to say to myself, Karen, no longer running the show. God, if it is your will that I should drive and pick her up, please tell me, really. If it is your will that I drive alone and listen to Rico 12 recordings on the way, let me please enjoy that. God, please help me stop hyperventilating over a little hiccup in any little communication. God, help me chill out. That's only the beginning, right? Because we have to attach actions to that. We never sit around and do nothing. Today in recovery, I live in steps 10, 11, and 12. And while I'm pretty good about working with others, I make sure I always have sponsees. I like to make sure I'm of service regularly. I enjoy that. I know not all of you enjoy that. Sponsoring is the bee's knees. I love it. I love working with others, especially, you get out of yourself. Oh, and as Providence would have it, 2 of my sponsees complained to me, one about a financial thing and what about a parenting thing, that were the exact same things I was suffering. So that took me out of stuff. That took me out of my arrogance of thinking like that I am the worst, most horrible mother human being on the face of the earth. There are some other contenders for that prize. I'm not the only one. Anyway, I woke up panicking from this stupid WhatsApp, and I turned on a meditation. I meditated, and I got still, and I got quiet. Because see, for me, also on my list of things, you might be able to tell by my appearance, I have a little bit of a compulsive overachiever kind of thing going. I like to get a lot of stuff done and get kind of high strung. I want to be, the best mom and the best worker and the best, but my life is unmanageable. So a lot of times all that perfectionism and wanting to be so good and wanting to please so many people makes a real mess. I get into a lot of unmanageability with my schedule, with being late, with biting off more than I could chew. So like I said, this wave of recovery has been so much softer and gentler. It's been so much more about not doing. Like my new awesome, beautiful sponsor said, like, God's just right there. Don't even pick up your big book. Don't even pick up another sponsee. Don't even go to another meeting. Just surrender, like your big book says. Just abandon yourself to this way of life. God is there. You're in the way. He didn't go anywhere. Take two. And so like the coolest thing that has happened to me, hot off the presses this week is like I've doubled up on my meditation, which is funny. I grew up in California girl. I grew up with all that jazz. I guess we won't promote other modalities, but I grew up with 10-day silent meditations and satsangs and, all the self-help that money could buy. From age 8, I have my first mind control diploma. And it's funny to return to that now, 40 years later. It's just like cheap and easy and right there. Google meditation. I found some great 12-stepper meditations. How am I doing on time, by the way?
You're good. We got about between, 5 and 10 minutes left, 5 and 9 minutes left for you. So
great. I highly recommend, thank you, getting on Google, looking at meditations. Forget what this guy is called. He's an old timer. Half-hour meditation, a theta meditation, going through the body, relaxing, involving my 11th step, When agitated, I pause. But like, you got to know this is a progressive disease. Today, my pausing is different. Yesterday's disease would have been like, okay, 20 minutes, you're done with your work. So today I left work. I don't know why. It could be I was up at 5:30 a.m., meditated, had some guilt about some of my parenting blunders. I had some pressure for my kids to get home, and I was wiped. I got in my car. I turned on the AC because it's a little hot here in Mediterranean Jerusalem. When agitated, that would have been now. We pause. I closed my eyes. I started talking to God. I wanted to say my formal prayers because I'm a good girl like that, but I was like, no. God, please help me. My parenting. Please help me with my work accomplishments. It's a 2-day holiday here. Please help me get all my cooking done. Please help me with my moods, all the stuff. I got a son who's got to go into his higher education. Please help him get into the best place he's got. Please help my kid who's also a compulsive overeater lose some weight. Please help all of them. They're all orphaned from their father, blessed memory, and grow up mentally and emotionally healthy. And I started just bawling my eyes out. You might even say it was a bit of a spiritual experience. When agitated, we pause. Yeah, I was agitated, all right. Higher power, please help me. Without him, it is too much. I got the weight of the world on my shoulders and you didn't even put it there. Let me stop doing this. Let me stop picking it up. Let me stop picking up resentments. Let me stop picking up fears. Take all of it. Take all my fears. It was just so great. I begged. I managed to bawl my eyes out. I didn't plan it, but I'm so glad it happened. That was a good release. Then I just rested and actually fell asleep for about 15 minutes in my car, nestled in higher power's arms. I wasn't driving. Don't worry. I was in a parking lot. And I woke up rejuvenated. Clearly, I was also very, very, very tired. With the stress of my exams and the kids and the this. And I was able to meditate and say, thank you. Thank you, God, for letting me get that out. Thank you, God, for reminding me that you got all this. Thank you for helping me cry myself out of my own way. I'll do that. I told you the other day about the ride, today about my overwhelm, which happens pretty often, actually. I'm not saying some of you guys may go through that. And you may think, it's a panic attack. You need meds. I personally like to work my program and just dig deeper into my spiritual life. But that is the answer to all of my problems today. That is the solution to everything today. It's just prayer and reaching out and working with others. I may wrap up soon. My little one is walking in here a second. I just want to look. I think I wrote some good notes. My little one just walked in. Oh, there she is. Okay.
Okay.
So cute. So cute. Yeah. So even this, I realized they were going to be walking in right as I scheduled this. Even that. God, let me be effective. Let me give over this Rico 12 share, even though my 11-year-old's walking in just at this hour. My 7-year-old's walking in just at this hour. Let me be effective. Let me give this over. Let me live life on life's terms. Let me not pretend I'm, a single person who does whatever the heck they want, whenever the heck they want. I'm not. Just for today, I live in reality. Little monkey just came in the door, a little beautiful child of God. And today it's about letting go. Absolutely. Letting go. Absolutely. Letting go. Absolutely. To my menu, to my parenting, to my spiritual life, to my work life. Do people like me? Do they not like me? Who are my friends going to be? Whenever I get nervous about rejection and abandonment, people I was close to drifting away. Today it's different. God, if you want them to be my friend, I beg, I don't necessarily have this on automatic. If you want them to be my friend, let them be my friend. And if you don't, let me just accept that. And gang, we're all in here together. Reach out to your fellows. My fellows have been invaluable. My sponsors have been invaluable. We can't do this alone. We need a higher power. And different fellows offer different things. Some offer meditation. Some teach us how to work with others. And some just give us a whole lot of love. And sometimes that's just all we need. Someone to tell us we're good and we're okay and remind us that we're a precious child of whatever it is you call it, whatever that higher power is for you. And I'll end with this because it was advice I gave my sponsor today who was wigging out about something. I was like, stop trying to Al-Anon that thing. And that's going to be some advice I'm going to be giving to myself as I try to manhandle the different things in my life. My coworker, my boss making faces at me of displeasure, my traffic, my menu, my weight, which isn't going down, even though I'm eating much less calories and fat. Just stop trying to Al-Anon that. Stop trying to control it. Please, God, help me the right body weight. Help me do your will. Help me find favor in your eyes. Help, help, help. Let me just surrender, just peel away all that self, peel away all that self-pity, all that self-judgment. Take that whole orchestra out of my mind. We're going a cappella. Just take it out, take it away. Let me sit still with you and do your will one step at a time, one day at a time, one addict at a time, and maybe, just maybe, this one addict will be happy, joyous, and free just for today. Thank you, and it's an honor, and I look forward to hearing your questions.
Thank you so much, Karen. Beautiful share. Thanks for your vulnerability and your expressing your experience from today of your pause, your quiet and getting down, connecting with God. Beautiful stuff. A reminder to our live audience, if you have questions for Karen, please type them in the Q&A link at the bottom of your Zoom window. Looks like two speech bubbles over the top of each other. We've got, I've written down several questions. We've got questions coming in from our live audience, and we will start with one from an anonymous attendee. This person says, "You are a living, breathing miracle, and the timing of all of this is so divinely inspired and sincerely perfect. Thank you for choosing this magnificent way of life. Now, when you are trapped in the insanity of mind and self, what is it that allows you to genuinely let go? And how do you do that? How can anyone do that?"
Oh, yeah. Anyone can't. Certainly this lady can't. But my higher power can. And like I said today, and I see this fellow, I think, is on this meeting. It's just about meditating. It's just about quieting all that Dolby surround sound, all that noise. Meditation. Literally put one on. Put a 12-step meditation on. I hope that helps.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite? I mean, you mentioned a couple of things of meditations that you use. Tell us a little bit more if you can recall like specific names or anything of some of those meditation guided meditations you use that we may be able to use as a resource.
Yeah, I just found it's open on my computer because I used it just this very morning when I was freaking out. George Lewis guided. It's called Free 11th Step Evening Meditation. About a half hour. Really good. And don't worry, by the way, I heard an expert say if you fall asleep in the middle, that's a good sign because that means you've let go and let God. So I even recommend it if you're having trouble sleeping.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I was going to ask about that 30 minutes. How are you able to make time for those types of things? I mean, you're busy, you've got work, you've got kids, you've got all these things going. How do you prioritize that quiet time in your day and in your life so that your life doesn't take over?
Well, honestly, this is really a new thing that I've just put in this week. And it was because I was upset and not sleeping so well and woke up at 5:30 a.m. So I slotted it in there even before my formal prayer. Yeah, I've been doing it early in the morning before I get too busy or before the coffee hypes me up too much. But I'd probably put it in at night too when I already, like whenever. I would, the other day I was worried about my exam and a fellow put on like a 5-minute meditation just to quickly help me get centered and out of the nerves. I forget what she used. It was from some app. I'm pretty old school. I'm sure that if anyone has suggestions, they should put it in the chat. I'm probably not as up to date.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karen. Appreciate it. All right. We've got another question from our live audience. This is from James. I am hopefully seeing my kids tomorrow after a year and a half, so it will be very emotional roller coaster. Do you have any advice for James on that? Thoughts on that, Karen?
Yeah. Sincerely, abandon yourself. Ask higher power to help and meditate, just don't be James seeing your kids tomorrow. Be, how can I be helpful? Like the big book says, our sole purpose is to be of service. How can I be of service to my kids? What do they need? Not your emotional roller coaster, James. How can I be of service to them? Switch the focus off of you. That'll calm you down also.
Thank you, Karen. When working with others or when you yourself are in a place in people addiction, in relationship addiction, where you're just kind of spiraling, what is one of your favorite big book passages, your go-to big book passages, and how does that help you and help others when you go through that?
Perfect. Oh, I got it right away. We focus on the solution and the problem gets solved. That's my favorite. This is kind of a less messy one. No, not divorce, not parenting, not custody, not, let's take a lighter one, like a office tension, tension with a coworker or coworker you kind of had to wrestle with or you don't get along with. So I had this like French coworker, she was nasty with her French accent and you're talking too loud and I hear your phone call anyway. And I was like really uncomfortable. I was like, oh gosh, I guess. I didn't know what to do. And then my sponsor said, we focus on the solution, the problem gets solved. How can we be helpful? Well, talking to her, I can't be helpful. There's no amends to make here. There's no talking, no blah, blah, no holier than thou, that's for sure. I just worked my steps, worked with my sponsor, prayed for her, prayed on it, didn't talk. I said good morning, but I didn't engage in any conversation beyond that. And it just took about a week or two, but all the charge was gone. It was completely diffused. I had this happen with another coworker, a bit bad, intimidating, executive who told me off and told me I was bugging her. And I started to react as I do, kind of hyperventilating that someone's mad at me and I'm a bad girl and blah, blah, blah. And I just prayed for her. I just humbly put my head down. I said, good morning, the bare minimum. prayed for her, kept working with others, and it went away. And since then we work together. I'm not stupid. I don't like stick my neck out. We always do the right thing. We try and be helpful to others. That means to others, we're included in others. Like if someone is nasty, I'm not going to strike up lots of conversations with them because that's reality, right? We live in reality. We don't turn the other cheek here. But I've since began working with this woman, it's more proper, short and sweet. She's since given me compliments. So whatever, we focus on the solution and the problem gets solved. I'm just saying laser focused on being of service, being of helpful where I can, not where I cannot, not where I'm going to get a smack down or a hand slap or whatever. That would be my favorite passage.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that, Karen. Really appreciate it. All right. A reminder to our live audience, if you have a question, please type it in to the Q&A link. We've got other questions that are coming in. We'll get to those. And also a couple of comments that have come in. I will post all resources that are brought up in here in the show notes of the podcast that can be accessed anywhere you get podcasts. And so that you can get access to, I've taken notes of, this 11th step evening meditation. I'll go find it and post that in there. All right. Next question comes from Michelle.
I'll put the link in the chat if you like.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Thank you. All right. Next question comes from Michelle from our live audience. My aunt and my cousin are staying with me in a place that was given to my mother and aunt through their parents' will. The place was empty until I moved here with their permission, of course. My aunt and cousin are very spiritually unhealthy, and I just lost it. Hang on just a sec. Okay. Very spiritually unhealthy. And I'm early in my recovery. My aunt completely blew up on me today. I feel disappointed because I said something this morning that ticked her off. What I said came from valid pain, but I don't think she will ever see anyone but herself. She said terribly nasty and unforgivable things. How do I move past this? How do I surrender? What are your thoughts on that, Karen?
Hey, Michal, great to meet you. First of all, we're with you. You're not alone. We're praying for your success. Your fellowship has got your back. Just picture like the giant stadium, recovery fellows rooting you on for your success and doing God's will for you. You said you're early in your recovery, so I would definitely say get a sponsor. I recommend the Spiritual Gangsters Fellowship. You want to get through the steps. It's hard to surrender. I don't really know what step you're on. I would need much more context, but I would say definitely get a sponsor to take you through the steps. And then work with others. In the interim, pray for that person. In the big book, it says, we are hard on ourselves and soft on others. Now, hard is a tricky word because a lot of us suffer from broken self-esteem and a lot of self-hatred. I don't mean we're harsh on ourselves. We demand of ourselves to be humble, peaceful. That's also tricky if you're a codependent. I don't want to be doling out bad advice here. Just keep working your steps, keep working your program. Don't even look at your aunt. That's the only thing I could say right now without enough context. Just keep working your program, focus on where you could be helpful. Like I just said before, we focus on the solution and the problem gets solved. I would actually try and say not to focus on your aunt, certainly not to open up any conversations, keep making your recovery phone calls, keep journaling. Pray for her, and keep it as an intention there that will get healed. But that's all I could say is keep focusing on the solution and you'll see miracles.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Karen. And speaking of that, focus on your solution. And earlier in your talk, you said, hey, I have a solution, and my solution, I interpret it as this, that your solution has kind of evolved over the last 8 or 9 years. How has that evolution happened? What has your solution kind of grown into or changed into over time?
Wow. Those of us who've been around for a while, we realize that we kind of have to up our game. We have to go graduate level or, ninja level. We have to up our game. So it includes both a regimen of action and prayer, meaning if I see I'm faulty and I don't have a sponsor, I'll go out on different groups or go to unrecovered meetings and tell people I'm available to sponsor. I'll look for a fellow shared with me about RICO 12. And I said, oh yeah, I love RICO 12. I'd love to share there, to keep myself spiritually fit. So that's the action piece. It's also in all my affairs, right? I'll ask myself in the workplace, how can I be helpful? Which actually comes out of self-love and self-appreciation, not self-hatred. Like what gift do I have in my workplace that other people don't have? For each of you, you guys are each beautiful and talented in different ways. For me, it's like, I know how to get stuff done and how to like push things across the finish line. It's like, how can I be of service? I'm going to do that report. I'm going to do that thing. And I'm going to do that technological build out. And that will be helpful. I know how to speak with the Israeli team in Hebrew and the American team in English. Anyway, I don't want to bore you with all that. But there's action, and it's in all my affairs. I want to be a good worker. As a mommy, I want to be a good mommy. On this call, I'm having trouble with a 9-year-old. I asked my 15-year-old to take her out. My 15-year-old needs the honor, and my 9-year-old needs the attention. I put those two together. That's in all my affairs. How can I be helpful? I can't. I'm having a tough time with my 9-year-old, but my 15-year-old is really good. So I just help both of them by getting out of the way. On the spiritual side, I spoke a lot about meditation, and even just a minute, just like, even if I'm like a little bit off at work or tired or, feel like I need a caffeine hit, I'll literally stop and be like, okay, help me God. Or, without taking too much time for my employer, I'll send a WhatsApp to a fellow. What's going on? How can I be of service to you? And then they'll share something. And then I'll, hash it out with them or tell them remind them how wonderful they are, because obviously they've forgotten that moment. And that's like a little like recovery cheat sheet is, meditation, prayer, and service. And God sends us stuff too. Today, right when I was getting in a bad mood, my sponsor was like, I'm losing it. The world is against me. Hold on. And that's when I told her, like, stop trying to Al-Anon your problems. Who said that this way is this way that's falling apart is the best way? Maybe there's a different way and we don't see it, Or what about, the guy who left you and made room for the amazing guy? I'm still waiting for him, by the way. or the friend that left you and made room for much nicer, down to earth, real friends. Like that. Hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much, Karen. Love it. And I guess I'll ask you this, Karen. I've had somebody reach out and say, hey, how can I get in touch with Karen? Are you okay if I have them email me and then I can connect you that way so your contact information isn't here?
Oh, you could put my contact information in my WhatsApp. I could put my WhatsApp in the chat.
You can put it in the chat, but let's not say it verbally here. Yeah, okay, you can definitely do that. But anybody who wants to get in contact with Karen, send an email to reco12pod@gmail.com, reco12pod@gmail.com, and I'll facilitate that. Make sure that that happens. All right. Excellent. And yeah, if you'd like to put that in the chat, you can do that.
I'll leave it that way. I'll trust you on that one.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Next, and this isn't a question, it's a comment, and it's one that I actually wanted to say also. So I'm going to double up on this. This is really good. This is from Yoel. Karen, thanks for showing me how to stay calm when your beautiful kid comes into the room and kind of finds her way into the scene. I always see on Zoom meetings with cats or dogs that pop on the screen of speakers, and the reaction of the speaker is usually patience and love. But with another human being showing up on the screen, I would assume you'd become agitated, but you have not. You've stayed calm and adopted the situation with surrender. That's awesome. Wow, I agree. Thank you for that. And that was a really cool experience to have somebody popping in the screen and you just pressing forward in peace and serenity. Thank you.
Well, that is my big book recovery. It's brilliant that you mentioned that and observant of you. And that is not the me of 5 minutes ago or even yesterday, actually. That's today. You said, how do I work my program? See, I'm in a reality. I know 5 p.m. My cute 11-year-old, he's on the couch. You can't see him in the window. He's here. He's asking me questions, they're kind of bugging me. I'm trying to stay centered and not lose my train of thought. And I knew my 7-year-old would walk in and, she's not going to listen to me. So like, I thought about that before I got on the call. See, I'm living in reality, not in the fantasy of like, I've got to be perfect presenter. And I could present now the same way I did when I was 20 years old and in Manhattan and yeah, and case in point, my son is sitting behind me, whistling, clapping, wanting my attention. I budgeted for that in advance. So thank you.
That's amazing. Love it. Love it. Thank you for sharing that. And another follow-up on that. This is from Irving. Incredible example of surrendering. Thank you so much, Karen. I will remember your kids walking in forever. I'm under similar stresses with working from home and my kid walking in. Thank you for showing me what it looks like to get out of the way. And a beautiful thing. Thank you so much, Karen. All right. I have another question. If anybody else has questions, please type it in the Q&A link and we'll get to that, but we'll be wrapping up here before too long. Next question I have, like you, Karen, I grew up in a very religious situation. I have maintained religiosity throughout my whole life, but in recovery, I found that religiosity became almost a barrier to spirituality. What is your experience with that? How have you been able to meld or separate the two of those concepts in your own recovery?
So that's a great question. I do certain religious things today by rote, and I believe in them. And I believe, like, just like brushing my teeth, like I may not see the plaque going away, or I may not see the microbes being scrubbed or the cavities being prevented, but I know it's good for me. So I know that about my religiosity. But with spirituality, it's a little more bare, a little more raw. When I'm a little bit more hurt, it's more spontaneous.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I've found some peace in that also. You know, I see the religiosity, like you said, is a little bit more rote. There's some, I don't know, some roteness to it, and the spirituality is more spontaneous. I find that in my own life too, and sometimes I need one or the other, and sometimes they meld together beautifully. Thank you for sharing that.
The other thing is the belief, you know, like the big book says, see where religious people are right. Like I love my religion. I love my Bible, my character development books of the sages of my religion. And those are part of my recovery regimen. Like if I'm feeling off, you know, I might open the Pentateuch, I might open the Bible, I might open something by Maimonides, some thought. The big book said, you know, the big book was started by a bunch of religious guys. Even if you're not religious, you know, see where religious people are right. I'll look for that inspiration. And thankfully, you know, we have WhatsApp, we have classes online, we have newsletters, we have books, we have scriptures. Here she is again. But yeah, we see where religious people are right.
Good. Excellent. Thank you so much, Karen. So before we wrap up here, do you have any let me see. I got another question here. From Andre. Let's do this real quick. Currently 27 years old, lost in life, losing values I had before I was asking the world to validate me by them. I cannot act even on my past values I liked, but can I understand my path, my values, my higher power will for me to be? For example, on the level of financial stability, I'm losing belief in what I learned before on what I want to do with my time at job, and now cannot find my way on how to support myself in a way which I will be happy with, if that makes sense. It's great to hear from you. Also, he's from Israel also, and thanks for your answers. So question, how do you understand your path, values, higher power's will for me to be, especially in modes, you know, financial, for example?
That is a great question. And the honest, humble answer is I don't understand at all. You know, I mean, I have a great job and I love it. So I wake up and go to work and do what I'm supposed to do there with integrity and as best of a job as possible. And if I can't, I'll talk to my boss about it, like having to get home early for my kids as a single parent. I said to my boss, this isn't working. My child is running away. I have to leave early, which means also I would, you know, if she told me you can't, I would have to walk or figure something else out. But I don't know God's path for me. keep doing his work responsibly, meaning, I do my taxes, I pay my electric bill, I go to work, I had to write a report, I had to write a proposal. I just, tick that stuff off in constant contact throughout the day, constant contact with my higher power and my fellows. And, sometimes it works out, but I know there are phases, like, especially if you're back in the, a lot of people in some of these fellowships, some of the RICO 12 people have been around for a while. Like we've done the steps a couple of times. Sometimes life dishes you like a new deal, or, after, and I've certainly felt that way in this fellowship, after I had never been divorced before. After getting divorced, that was like a whole new frontier. And I had no idea. Well, I thought, like I told you, I went to work for this big, tough guy, important job that was a disaster and horrific. Like, I really didn't know who God wanted me to be, what he wanted me to do. I just kept connecting and just kept asking to be of service and kept asking to work in places. Now, that actually meant a big hit to my salary. I used to work in high tech. I used to make a lot more money. And I'm not suggesting anyone do anything that will cause them financial harm. For me, it happened to have worked. And, like the promises in the big book, financial insecurity disappears, but the answer is I don't know. But I can't not tell you this because it's just so cool. I started this job for making like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what I make when I was working the 12 steps in this program. And I came in and I told them I could only work part-time. I didn't even tell them I was a widow, although they had found out through the, calling my references. And a few months into the job, they said to me, we have this big donation to run a program for widows to help widows get jobs. And they gave it to me. And it's like, my higher power took care of that. Today I'm working empowering widows all across Israel to learn medical professions, helping them with career counseling. That was all a result of like letting go this work and like the most perfect tailor-made thing where I get to make a difference unfolded for me. So a lot of faith and trust, And same for me every day. It's like a battle to get myself out of the way. Just more faith. Like, it's okay. Yeah, you don't know when and if you'll get married again. You don't know when and if you'll make that much money again. So I don't know is the answer. And it could be a cool place to be.
How cool is that? Thank you for sharing that experience. God is amazing. Higher power is amazing. And very cool as you just walk in faith, things sufficient for your needs fall in. Beautiful. All right. Before we close up, any final words of wisdom from you, Karen?
Keep coming back. This program has a lot to offer. If you feel you're working the steps with someone and it's dragging out, reach out to Justin. You can ask him for my contact info. Maybe try and get you a new sponsor to get through it quickly. Make sure you're working with others. This program has a lot to offer. So if you feel you're in a lame fellowship or not getting your seventh tradition money's worth or whatever, this program has so many different faces and facets and people and mentors and fellows that, don't give up, keep coming back, as they say, you're worth it, and just I want to tell you all that, higher power loves each and every one of you. And you're awesome. And thanks for being here, part of my road and my journey, and just doing his will one step at a time, whatever that may be.
Thank you so much, Karen. That was a great RICO 12 pop-up meeting. And if you have any other questions in the live audience, please consider joining our WhatsApp community by sending an email to rico12pod@gmail.com. Same thing if you want to get in contact with Karen, send that email to me. We'll make sure that happens. But feel free to come join in our community, ask questions, answer others' questions, participate in the community actively. If you're inspired and want to share something of your insights in a 12-step type share, please consider going to the RICO 12 Shares SpeakPipe link that I've put in the chat here, and also will be in the show notes, and record a 2 to 4 minute share there. If you've not yet rated and reviewed the podcast in Apple Podcasts, please go do so now. It's a great way to work our 12th step in sharing this message with others. I invite the audience to come back next Friday. We'll get back on track next Friday, June 2nd at our regular time. Our speaker then will be Dr. Laura Petrasic. She's the author of the book, The DBT Workbook of Alcohol and Drug Addiction, Skills and Strategies for Emotional Regulation, Recovery, and Relapse prevention. By the way, DBT stands for dialectical behavioral therapy. If you're like me and don't know, she's another first-time Rico 12 speaker, and we'll be doing another book giveaway during this one. So I look forward to hearing her experience, strength, and hope that you come back. Now let's launch off into the rest of our day with the step 7 prayer. Karen, would you like to say that for us, or would you like me to?
Why don't I'll let go and let Justin.
Okay. All right. I can do that. And I'm going to do the we version. Our Creator, we are now willing that you should have all of us, good and bad. We pray that you now remove every single defect of character that stands in the way of our usefulness to you and our fellows. Grant us strength as we go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. Awesome. All right. Remember, everybody, there's one who has all power. That one is God, higher power, whatever you call that power. May you find that power now. Keep coming back. Let's trudge this happy road of destiny together. Work it. You are worth it.
Standing still a moment, carving out this time, reflecting on the landscape of this life of mine. Peaks too high to conquer, streams too wide to cross, troughs too deep to walk through without incurring loss. Yet here I am, still standing tall, despite the rough terrain. One like me survived the storms and walked through wind and rain. Still standing, I will fight the good fight, still searching for glimmers of